Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Awake in the World. We are live in the middle of April already, April 15th, 2021. It is 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and as I said, if that really matters, wherever you are watching this, it is right now the future of you. A little look at your existence several millennia down the road. So, why do I... boy, yeah, okay, I admit it. I look a little bit toasted. Kelly went into Vernon this morning, and I decided to begin to disassemble the glass railing and all the wood associated with the railing system that was on our deck. And we have quite a large upper deck. So, I believe it or not, I actually pulled it off. It's all down and prepped and ready for the new railing system we're going to put in. Lots of sunshine. And while we're on the subject, of getting off the subject, anyone who's, around my age, and you don't have to, be dead honest about it, but even if you're close, and I'm not talking about, the 3,200 some odd years I remember, but more specifically, 50, 60 years old, let's say. I remember when I was younger that the sun didn't seem to damage me as much. Like, I don't remember it being so hot even when it was hot. I don't remember burning as easily even when I was out in it all day. That being said, I do remember having a t-shirt cut off of me in the hospital because of the blisters from the sunburn and the shirt adhering to them when they blew. and I faced skin cancer too, but I that had a totally different excuse. It just seems to me that somewhere around, I'm going to say maybe 1984 or so, we had sufficiently done something to the atmosphere, and I believe it was right around the time that acid rain started becoming a real concern. But it seems to me that the light that's hitting us has been altered in some way by what we've done to the atmosphere. And I may be totally off base on this. So, rant, whatever, over. So, as always, let me just say that you are deeply loved, that I love you, and that whatever you're doing right now, whatever shape you're in, whatever state of mind you're in, whatever position you find yourself in, and hopefully it's not too twisted, if you know what I mean, it's perfect. It really is. And, that can be really hard to accept. When I was taking apart this deck, and like I said, it's a big deck. There's about 40 feet of wood railing I had to remove, and then the bottom railing. And, of course, 5 years ago, I had reinforced it all as well, so it wasn't going to come apart easily. I recognize that my back is, slowly starting to get worse and worse and worse, and it is pulling me very present. I really have no thoughts about it whatsoever, but it is pulling me very much, even more into the present moment than I normally hang out in. I mean, totally... right down to the minutia. and that is not a bad thing to me. I don't have an opinion over it. I just choose to live and choose to decide for myself who I'm going to be in every moment of every day. So in that, it is a gift, and no matter where you're at in your life, it is a gift for you as well. So this is more of a little bit of a fun video. I mean, there will be some good information in here, but it's really to give you an idea of where you're going to end up. So I've had the experience of this that we're going to talk about, and that's where the source of it is, although the event that stood out most to me was in reading and made me search this out, which of course many years passed before I was able to experience such a thing. But Robert Monroe, in his third book, I believe it's called Far Journeys. That may be number 2. It's the third book he wrote, though. He goes incredibly far into his own, and we're going to talk about that, perceived future, and meets a much higher level you, a much higher level of himself, even though it's not him, but he recognizes himself in it. And we're going to talk about that as well. And at this point, the whole surface of the earth has been reconstituted, and those human beings that have chosen to remain on the planet are, basically manifest a body when necessary and stash it under a bench when you don't need to use it, and pick it up later, and you're living in harmony with the animals and the creatures, and that was an interesting vision that he had of that. So for me, and he explored further into that future as well. So for me, of course, it actually came during my second near-death experience, when I wanted to know now, because the first one was a little bit of a shock, I got to admit. Like I said, I had planned to go there and like off God, no matter what, one way or the other. But in the second experience, I wanted to know more about where humanity, where that which I was part of was going. And how do you keep evolving? And this is what was relayed to me that I actually experienced, that I'm going to really have to struggle to put into words, but I'm going to try to do my best to see if I can get the point across. If you understand or can try to grasp that the you think you are right now, that this egoic conditioned self, the label, Garen, prior to Garen's birth, the leftover residual egoic identification from the last life was dreaming up Garen's existence and saying, okay, this is what I want to accomplish, and understanding that all those I's are part of a larger I that you could say is your higher being, which is in no way associated with Garen, and yet is totally associated with Garen, along with all the other incarnations, for lack of a better word, that it has experienced. And for sake of argument, and just to keep things a little more simple, we're going to leave alone the fact that all of those existences are occurring simultaneously. It just makes things a little difficult to wrap your head around. So, it becomes a very natural question then, or it was to me at the time, to ask, well, hey, okay, like I see having life after life after life, I can even see hopping planet to planet to planet. Still, sooner or later, it's going to run out of steam. We're talking about eternity. So in that, I was shown a vision of what your future is, and what my future is, and what all of our future is. And this to me is the most glorious, there's no word to describe the feeling I get, but it made me instantly aware that there never, ever could ever be an end. Ever. It's not possible. And the first thing to wrap your head around this is really this. You can think of our universe as one consciousness, right? We've talked about that many times, and we're not going to go down into the micro. We're just talking about that one, let's call it a balloon. A balloon that appears to be floating in a vast emptiness. Now, that is not true, and yet it is true to a certain degree. But now we have to stretch our imagination a little bit, and we have to go from that three-dimensional picture of a balloon, you know, a glowing blue balloon, let's call it, floating in the blackness, and we have to add another dimension, often an angle to it, where we see that there is another glowing balloon dimensionally out of sight of that glowing balloon, but still there. And now we have to multiply that by a number beyond imagination to understand how many of these glowing balloons in the darkness are there. How many of these ones? Now, here's the really interesting thing. Each of those glowing blue balloons in that apparent nothingness are the one consciousness of creation, God, if you will. If you could imagine now that you could see through all the dimensions simultaneously, you would see that blue balloons were oftentimes imprinted almost exactly over top of other blue balloons, but you know, dimensionally they were separated from each other, but for all intents and appearances they appeared to be on top of each other. And you would also say that some of these balloons were off in their own space, not part of, you know, a group of balloons, or sitting by themselves. Each one of these is a manifestation of a singular consciousness that its own universe would come through its own conscious awakening and the birth of the idea of religion and the whole bit come to find itself facing God. Now, I know that that sounds like heretical talk to some people, or totally out to lunch, but I'm only trying to relate to you what I saw. And what I saw is that there isn't one God consciousness in one universe. There is one God consciousness times way too many for me to even digest of universes. And believe it or not, hard is it to understand when I asked to be very specific about what I was going to see. Where am I going to be? There I was, expanding out of that nothingness into one of those glowing blue balloons. This is your future, if you will. This is the future of that which you are part of. And that future is one day to manifest your own creation in order to get to know yourself at that level of being. Right now, in this human body, in this human manifestation that you've chosen, you're getting to know yourself at this level of being. You're getting to know creation at this level of being. There will come a time, eons from now, when that will no longer satisfy you and you will seek to be more than that. And when you finally reach the point where you fully understand the magnificence of what you truly are, in that moment, you will explode with delight into a whole new dimensional space and manifest a universe of your own making. Every little part of yourself blown out into the cosmos of yourself. This is this, I mean, it's so awe-filled for me to have experienced it. It blows my mind, and talking about it just brings the pictures back to me, and it's hard to explain, but this is where you're going. There's no fear ever. There is no end ever to the play. There is only a never-ending experience that grows to epic proportions and then literally starts all over again, but is never the same. We live in this wondrous web that is far beyond our ability to even comprehend, even within our own dimensional space, never mind within the multitudinous dimensional space in which we inhabit. Now, what does this do for you in everyday life? Because, you know, that's got to be a big part of spirituality. If there's no practice, if it's just all talk, we're not offered the opportunity to get anywhere. And I would say this: I am reminded of my smallness through it. I am reminded how at the beginning of my journey I still am. So that no matter what I may encounter in life, I can remain humble and see what I am being offered. One of the biggest issues that we face is cognitive dissonance. Our refusal to see what's right in front of us because we're going to have to lose a part of ourselves in order to see it. And we don't want that. To me, this picture of your future can help you take a load off today. You don't have to get it perfect in one life. You have eons of playtime. And as much as I like to, or I hear people say, and I've been prone to say it from time to time, that, you know, boy, this is going to be the last life that I want to spend here on this planet. You're going to change your mind as soon as you jump over to that other side. That's not really the other side. When you die, you're very quickly going to change your mind because you're going to understand that this is where the fun is. This is where the experience is. This is where you get to know every aspect of yourself best. And your future is so gloriously bright that it literally becomes creation itself one day. That's it. That's all tonight. That's all I have. Namaste. We'll, of course, be back Thursday, Friday, Saturday. After the day today, a lot of work. Tomorrow, I'm definitely taking some time. We're going to go to the lake, hopefully get some more beautiful pictures. And as always, my love to you, Kelly's love to you as well. Have a beautiful Friday, and we will get together Saturday evening. Take care.